Thanks.
Jason Rantz, host of the Jason Rantz Show on KTTH Talk Radio in Seattle, in focus now. So, Jason, you just heard me giving one example of the pushback on the president for more money for COVID relief. I mean, their own behaviors don't suggest that we need it.
It doesn't at all. I mean, they keep asking for more and more and more, and they're not spending it directly on COVID relief. I remember when we spent all this money for schools that didn't actually go towards helping students in classrooms as it related to the impact of COVID. I think that there is a concern amongst the American people at a time when inflation is through the roof, the economy is not where it needs to be, and now you're simply saying, give us more money. At some point, especially on COVID, people are going to say, okay, maybe enough is enough. You can't keep going down this road pretending that COVID is exactly the same now as it was 2 years ago. And it very clearly isn't, and the polls are obviously reflecting that.
You know, what really boggles the mind is what the administration seems to think are the real emergencies and ones which in the American minds really are not, like the baby formula situation or the crisis at the border or the reality of punishing inflation, which was like a huge tax on all of us. A Pew Research poll finds attitudes on masking have certainly changed a lot in just 6 months. 63% of people now say it doesn't bother them much when others around them don't wear a mask. That's up from 27% in November. Just 14 say it bothers them a lot, down from 49%. And then you have the overall response from people. More than 50% say that they're just not as worried about contracting COVID and becoming very ill.
Well, they shouldn't be as worried now. I mean, we have different therapeutics. We obviously have a vaccine that, while the data does not suggest that you can't spread COVID when you're vaccinated, it does suggest that it protects you from going to the hospital or dying. And so we're in this world where we're now treating it like the flu, or mostly like the flu. And the data on COVID seems to back up that exact suggestion. Now, you know, I do think that the polls are a better reflection of where the American people are than where the Biden administration is, although I'm a little envious of some of these. Because I think the Biden administration is trying to use COVID still, or literally anything, to distract from what's actually happening in this country.
Well, that's going to be hard.
A lot of what they've been doing, over the last couple of years has specifically to do with their ideology. That they are, and we've talked about this a lot, just on the crime issue, on criminal justice reform, gender identity in the classroom. That's where their focus is, and that's not where the American people want this country to go. And we've been pushing back against it. And so the Biden administration is trying yet again to bring something up that will distract from the key issues that we care about, key issues that are going to lead to this political massacre in the midterms.
Let me bring up another key issue for people. We're often pressed to figure out why people have lost their trust in government. Check this out. 2 House Republicans say they now have evidence. As you know, I like to call it receipts. The FBI actually did target parents who protested COVID and CRT policies at schools, despite Attorney General Merrick Garland telling Congress this in October of 2021.
I can't imagine any circumstance in which the Patriot Act would be used in the circumstances of parents complaining about their children, nor can I imagine a circumstance where they would be labeled as domestic terrorism.
Let's challenge the AG to use his imagination and the facts. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan here.
I mean, he said he wouldn't use counterterrorism resources to go after moms and dads, would not do that. That, in fact, looks exactly like what they did. And again, if you're a mom, you're a dad, you're a gun owner, you're a Republican, and you're standing up for your kids, oh, my goodness, look out, because here comes the FBI.
Jason.
This is an administration that views parents as irritants, that they're the ones getting in the way of the Democrat agenda. And right now, when it comes to children, it's not about their well-being. I think very clearly, as we look at the baby formula crisis to, frankly, the support of abortion up to 9 months into a pregnancy, they're not really caring about the well-being of children. They're caring about turning them in to politicians, to activists who will then use the lens that progressives see this country through to make some really significant institutionalized changes. Parents are the ones who over and over again, whether it's on having masks in schools or closing schools down completely, or the gender identity and the CRT lesson plans, parents are the ones who are stepping up, and that gets in the way of the agenda of the Democratic Party and the Biden administration. So I hope no one's surprised that they lied about this and this is how they treated parents. But I do hope they take this as alarming enough to actually start to organize better and take control back of school boards, school districts, and ultimately the Congress and then the White House.
You know, when it involves an investigation, when it involves the Federal Bureau of Investigation, we don't see what they see on Capitol Hill. Eventually we will. And so what that evidence looks like is apparently enough to get them to say, as you did, somebody lied at the very top. Fingers are pointing at the Attorney General Merrick Garland. We will cover it as it unfolds. Jason Rantz, always good to have you in focus. Thank you. President Biden